Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we welcome the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning, Long Island. It is great to be back here once again. I think I was here last week. Had a very nice ride. Have a seat on that wonderful Long Island Railroad. Friendly people, very clean, on time. Doesn't get any better than that, right, everybody? All right. You know, I always enjoy doing that, and I was just here a few days ago meeting a family on Copiague and sat down literally in their kitchen, talking to them about their struggles and, you know, what's on their mind, their worry about paying bills and everything else and all the stress and what we're doing in our budget to help alleviate that. And there's a lot of good people out here today I want to recognize who've been on the journey or who support us or help get the message out there, and I want to acknowledge them now, and that is our mayor, Mayor Hobbs of the village of Hempstead. We've been great friends a long time. He look forward to going swimming in the new pool, fix up the pool. We've got some great projects we're working on together, but he really cares deeply about his community, and I want to thank all the county legislators from Nassau and Suffolk counties for coming together. This is really important to bring people together and talk about, you know, successes and how we are listening to our residents and what we're doing to accomplish so much more. And I want to thank our friends in labor, Ryan Stanton, the Executive Director of Long Island Federation of Labor. Ryan, thank you. Ryan. And Maddie Arasich, the President of the Nassau Suffolk Building Trades. Thank you, Maddie. Members of my administration, Kevin Law, the Chair of Empire State Development. Kevin. Richie Kessel, the Chair of the NIFA. Fun job there, Richie. Well done. Sammy Chu, the member of the MTA. And a lot of civic leaders. I mean, this is what Long Island is known for. Really engaged residents and people who step up and serve their communities in so many different levels. And two people you're going to be hearing from are Vanessa Strereer, the President and CEO of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island. Let's give her a round of applause. Joe Salamone, the founder and executive director of the Long Island Coalition Against Bullying. Thank you. And of course, our host today at Farmingdale, the new president of Farmingdale State College, who took office after John Nader. We spent a lot of time with John. I look forward to deepening our relationship. Dr. Robert Present. So, thank you. You know, as I mentioned, I was sitting with the family in Copiague, and I just brought back a flashback of raising my own kids. And, you know, they're rambunctious, they're adorable, and, you know, it reminded me that I didn't have a lot of options when I was first having the babies because I couldn't find childcare. I had to leave a job that I really, really loved. I'd worked hard to get it, but it's just that time in our life there were not many options and certainly nothing that was affordable. So, you know, I just want to tell people that we have worked really hard on people's struggles and knowing what they're what they're up against. And so back in January, when I announced my State of the State address, I made a simple declaration that is part of my philosophy, which is your family is my fight. Because you need a champion. You need someone who's lived the experience, who knows what it's like to push that shopping cart in a big box store and load it up with diapers and toilet paper and paper towels and the formula, and then standing there in the checkout and just saying, I can't believe it. So then I whip out all my coupons and try to drive the cost down a little bit more. But I've lived that experience. And so as I see what families are going through right now, I just want to use everything I can at my disposal and my power to be able to acknowledge it, but also do something about it. Do something about it. And I really meant that. And you know, right now there's so many New Yorkers who just, want to have more money in their pockets. It was that simple. I said to my team, like, we have to put more money back in people's pockets because we also hear their complaints and their concerns, but also two things, affordability, but also making our communities safer. And Long Island is a wonderful place to raise families. I know that so well from talking to so many people, but parents to still have that sense of anxiety. The kids go off to school, or what happens in the neighborhood, or you sometimes have people suffering from severe mental illness in our downtowns, and you're not sure. I mean, they're not getting the help they need, but are they all of a sudden going to have an episode and maybe act in a way that could harm you or your kids? I mean, this is what gets a parent, this sense of, I've got to protect my kids, and they just need compassionate care, and they haven't been getting it. But I also want to make sure that our kids can focus in school and not be distracted the way they have been, and rediscover the joy of interacting with their peers. And so all these are my belief, my philosophy, and what families deserve. And so we passed a budget that addresses everything I just said, everything. And $5,000 back in people's pockets is what the collective result is, $5,000. First of all, we start with a middle-class tax cut. Middle-class tax cut to the lowest it's been in over 70 years. That's coming our way. It's going to help over 8 million New Yorkers. It's about $168 million in annual relief. 1.2 million Long Islanders are going to benefit from that, so they're going to be seeing that back in their pockets. 80% of Long Islanders will be able to benefit. We got that done. But also the inflation rebate. You know what this is? It means it's acknowledging that we collected more in sales tax over the last few years. Why? Because you paid more for everything. It wasn't your fault. Prices were up. The backpacks, the sneakers, everything you bought. And that meant that we collected more money at the state level. Now, there are people who said, keep it, don't give it back. I said, but it's their money. It's the people's money. They paid more. So I said, let's have an inflation rebate. And we're going to put over $400 back in families' pockets. And that's going to go back in the pockets of 1.3 million Long Islanders as well, $316 million. And when I first became governor, there was no child tax credit for children under the age of 4. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's when they're the most expensive, right? That's when they're outgrowing their clothes every 3 months. I just bought new clothes for an expectant baby coming in July in my family, my daughter. And I said, well, thank you. We're going to need newborn, 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9. I said, we'll stop at 6 to 9. We'll see what season we're in at that point. And so I just know, it's like, it adds up. And I said, we have to do better. We are now going to have a $1,000 tax credit for children under the age of 4 to help struggling families. Tripling the tax credit, largest in our state's history, but also for the older kids, $500 for each and every one of them to help out. So we got that done as well. And that'll help 215,000 Long Island families and 355,000 children across this beautiful area. I also said, and I raised this when I was at an event back in January, here on Long Island, free lunch for kids, free breakfast. There's the reason there have been government programs before, but there's a stigma associated from that you're that kid who's so ashamed that you can't afford to buy lunch like all the other kids, then you're singled out. A lot of kids skip lunches. I heard that from an elected official here on Long Island who said that stigma is carried with you your whole life. You're singled out. That's not what we want to have our kids have to endure. But also the hassle of having to pack up kids' lunches. I remember buying all those little Lunchables. I don't think they're that healthy, but they were quick. Do they still make them anymore? They outlaw them. Okay. Flunk it in a bag and call it lunch. I don't know. Not having to make breakfast for your kids, not having to make lunch, that's time back for parents, but also about $1,600 per child back in your pocket from not having to worry about that. We got that done as well. So that's real relief. That's real relief, and I'm excited about that. Really happy to be able to deliver for New Yorkers. But also safety. There's discovery laws that changed in 2019, and yes, it was important to make some changes. We got that done, but sometimes the pendulum just swings too far in the other direction. When you're correcting something that's wrong, but then it goes in the other direction. We are having so many cases that have real victims behind them who were denied justice because they were dismissed on technicalities. And you would not believe the stories I heard. And 94% of domestic violence cases brought are dismissed. And that's often a woman going back to her environment without an order of protection and just being so vulnerable. And I said, this cannot stay. We have to take this on. And it was hard. A lot of people just didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to change the status quo. It's just sometimes just leave it alone is the easier path. And I never take the path, though. I just will always challenge and say, we've got to do better. We also said gun violence is still very much a problem, even in our suburban areas and our downtowns. $347 million toward eliminating gun violence. And here, I've focused on this intensely for the last few years. Here on Long Island, we've brought down gun violence by 50% on Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk counties. I think that's pretty remarkable, but we have more work to do. $35 million to keep our houses of worship safe because there's so many hate crimes, especially against observers of religion, whether it's the Jewish faith, Muslim faith. I mean, there's a lot of people being singled out here, and it's just wrong. But I want those institutions to be safe and have the security devices they need because we don't tolerate that in our state. As I mentioned, we talked about mental health, and people have just been languishing so long in our trains and stations and all over. People said they had the civil rights to stay on the streets. Their civil liberties cannot be affected by saying you need care. I think that was cruel. I really do. I think it's sometimes hard to say we have to pick up someone and lift them up and get them the help they need, but we are a compassionate society. That's our responsibility to them. Makes our communities safer, but also that individual at least has a better shot by being in a confined situation. Yes, they will not make that own decision because these are people who do not have the mental capacity to take care of their own well-being. That's what I'm talking about. And we're going to help them as well. So we changed the law, again, another tough battle, and we're going to do it. And I believe that this is going to make a remarkable change for these individuals and also the sense of safety that everyone deserves to have. So we're changing the involuntary commitment laws and make sure they get the help they need. I want to thank everybody who fought for that as well. So, also as a mom, I'm focused on what happens in the classroom very much. And since the advent of cell phones in schools, and I'm never sure how it even started, like who said it was okay? When I was a kid, you couldn't sit there and play games, and it's basically the same thing. I mean, now it's watching TikTok dance videos instead of listening to the math teacher, right? So the distractions are intense. And last year we worked with the legislature to come up with nation-leading legislation on social media algorithms. Companies that are designed to draw your child in based on their own preferences, pull them in, but it's always holding them tight and taking them off into a dark place and bombarding them all day long with distractions, an average of 250 notifications a day. So we went after the social media companies, but I also said, but if they don't have this cell phone in their hand all day, then they won't be distracted. That was another tough one. I heard from everybody. Leave it up to the school districts. It's up to them. And I respect our school districts. I really do. Give them a lot of money, too. But come on, I also heard from school superintendents and school board members and others who said, it's just hard to be the heavy. It's hard to be that lightning rod where people are coming out after you because you made a decision that you know is right, but there's always opposition. I said, I'm a lightning rod by definition. I mean, people, come on. I can handle it. Just add it to the list. And it's my job to protect kids. And I knew this was so important. So I went around the state. I convened people from the North Country to Long Island and had these conversations and just said, we can do better. And the voices that meant the most to me of all were the teenagers I listened to. I'd sit in a library, a group of young women, and one girl was saying all the pressure she's under. I mean, people are mocking out what you're wearing, and you're They're excluding you from the special gathering in the girls' restroom at that moment, and you're feeling bad. They're not inviting you to the party this weekend. And you know this is all going on when you're supposed to be paying attention in school. Enormous pressure. And she said, you have to save us from ourselves because we cannot put the phones down alone because we'll be ostracized. And I said, that's all I need to hear. I can save a kid. We're there. And we did it. We did it. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you. Thank you. We are now the largest state in the nation to have bell-to-bell K through 12 ban on distracting devices, not just the smartwatch. Smartwatches, let me tell you what one teacher told me. She said every 6-year-old in her first grade class had a smartwatch. And all day long, Mommy's checking in. I miss you, honey, little heart emojis, and like, cut the apron strings, right? We're supposed to raise not kids, but raise adults. And this is part of their breaking away in their independence. And so it's hard for parents, I know, but I still remember sobbing my eyes out the first day of kindergarten, and I knew I would not talk to that child until the end of the day. And she would figure it out on her own, and she did. And now she's gonna be a mom, and that baby will never even know that you could have had cell phones in schools. I want them banned all across this country. So speaking of school aid, $271 million for Long Island alone. There, let's give a round of applause to our, that's brand new. Support our teachers, giving everybody the foundation they need and make it easier. Just have what you need. Give those kids everything, everything. This is their chance we can formulate adults who care about their communities. That's what education's all about. Give them that foundation. But also, we want to make it easier for people to get around on Long Island, right? We're increasing public transit funding by 7% for Nassau and Suffolk counties, $177 million combined. More reliable service. Fully funding the MTA's capital plan, $68.4 billion. And on Long Island, you are tremendous beneficiaries of this. Other parts of the state can complain, but not here on Long Island, because this includes $6 billion for the Long Island Railroad and a smoother, safer ride for over 600,000 Long Islanders who use it every single weekday. And this was last year was our strongest year ever for the Long Island Railroad. I mean, we surpassed our record on-time arrivals, and the customer surveys are just so positive. I mean, this is really something that is so special and unique about this area. We broke ground on the Yaphank station, greatly improved the commute to Brookhaven, which we promised we would do. Also, $150 million to move ahead with the plans to connect Ronkonkoma Station with MacArthur Airport. That's going to be a major change. So, a few other ways. Let's wrap up a few more. Want to hear a few more? Yeah, okay. You kind of like this, don't you? It's like, we have to protect the water. This is an island, Long Island. Water is everything. Our shores, our beaches, the water that comes out of our kitchen sinks, we have to protect it. And since I've been governor, we've had over $458 million dedicated to water alone here on Long Island, because I believe we have to protect it. But now, let's talk about the South Shore. We're moving forward with $1.7 billion for Fire Island to Montauk Point that'll safeguard 83 miles of coastline. This is really important. Generations from now, people will talk about this time when we made those high investments, large investments, but we have no choice. This is God's gift to this part of our state, and we must protect it. We're also very sensitive of the pressures on our small businesses in small towns, our beautiful communities that dot the landscape here, and each one has its own personality. I've been to so many of them, and they're really dealing with a lot of stress. Do not walk into a retail shop and say the word tariff. You'll probably evoke a heart attack. I went back to my hometown to help my mother start a small business right out of law school. She thought I'd actually know how to do this. They don't teach that in law school. But we opened a little flower shop the weekend before Mother's Day. I walked in and saw her partner, my mother passed. And my daughter was working there when she was 13 years old. So I brought my daughter back, very pregnant young woman, and met her old boss, and walked in and I said, "How are things going, Jeannie?" And she says, "We get our flowers from Mexico and Canada." She says, "Everything is up 25, 30%. I don't know if we're going to make it." Now, that's been there since 1984. She says, "I don't know how we're going to survive." She is just one example of hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses who are really anxious. She says, "I want to put in my Christmas order. I don't know if it's going to make it. I don't know what the cost will be. I don't know how to budget for that." She says, "It's just so hard." And I feel for these businesses. So one thing I knew we could do, businesses are picking up an additional cost because of our unemployment deficit in our fund, our insurance fund. Pandemic wiped it out. I mean, everybody you knew lost a job, and we had to help them during that time, but we really went deep into the hole and expended all the funds and had to borrow money. So now the law is that they have to pay it back before we can ever raise what people are able to get if they're on unemployment. So I said, I looked at the budget. We did very well managing it. I've been working hard to stash money in our rainy day fund, the highest reserves our state has seen. I don't know when. It's been 4% reserves for a long time. And I got it up to 15. And it literally was a rainy day, the day I announced this, and I said, today's the rainy day. I need to go into this fund, take money out of it, and pay down that debt so that burden is no longer on our small businesses having to pay the extra money, hundreds of dollars per employee they've been paying. That's my counter to the tariffs at this time. If I can help a little bit by lifting that burden, I said, this is when they need it. It is raining, it is storming, and so we're doing that as well. So our small businesses are really grateful. So my vision was to lay out a stronger, safer, more affordable New York, a place where middle-class families can thrive, where public safety is non-negotiable, and where mental health is met with compassion and care, where kids can learn and flourish and develop relationships with other kids. It's not just a vision, it's what we did. And we got it done, and I'm so proud to be able to deliver for the people of Long Island and all across the state of New York, and thank everyone who's been involved in this journey. Thank you very much, everyone. With that, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Steve. Let me introduce Waylon Hobbs, our mayor of the Village of Hempstead. Mayor.
Let's give our governor another round of applause. Now, I usually start by saying it's a great day in the Village of Hempstead, but we are in Farmingdale, so it's a great day in Farmingdale. We are happy to be here today. Today, I proudly recognize our governor, who represents all of the residents of the great state of New York, from upstate to downstate. She makes sure she services all of her residents. I'm grateful for the relationship with the Village of Hempstead, where we recently received $10 million for our downtown revitalization initiative. $10 million that will go to help Hempstead with its economic development of our downtown. And Nassau County, we have a little debate. They try to say that they're the hub. Hempstead is the hub of Nassau County. We have the Rosa Park bus station, we have the Long Island Railroad, and we are grateful for the governor's safety initiatives because many of our residents travel every day on the train, and people want to be able to travel safe to work and back home. So thank you, Governor, for putting money into safety for those that travel the MTA. Let's give her another round of applause. And if anyone asks me, about our relationship, they know that you cannot talk negative about my governor because she has done so much for the residents of the village of Hempstead. Recently, our school district was about to close one of our elementary schools, a school named after David Patterson, because of lack of finances. But the governor in this budget invested $24 million into the Hempstead School District, investing in the future of our children, their education. And Governor, we thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for investing in technology that helps our police department. Since we've received funding for this new technology, within 2 weeks, our officers were able to bring in 55% more gun arrests, taking illegal handguns off of our streets. But I'm glad that you also addressed the discovery issue, because our officers were making the arrests, getting the guns off the street, but many times those cases were dismissed because of a little technicality. Now, I understand the reason for some of these reforms, but unfortunately, when you paint with a broad paintbrush, you sometimes mess up the things that are supposed to protect our communities. So thank you for being bold enough to make sure we correct what needed to be corrected. And lastly, not least, we thank you for dealing with the mental health issues of so many people that by my wife, who is a surgical nurse, St. Francis Hospital, one of the best heart hospitals, but as a nurse educator, she said many times when dealing with people that were homeless and had mental health issues, they said themselves that if they had a safe environment where they had a control environment when to take their medication, when to go for counseling, that will help them better because they didn't trust themselves to follow the routine. So thank you for being bold enough to address that issue that will help all that have mental health issues. Can we give her another round of applause? And so again, on behalf of the residents of the largest village in the great state of New York, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now introducing Vanessa Strereer, President and CEO of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island.
Hello and good morning. As stated, I'm Vanessa Strereer, and I'm the President and CEO of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island. And I stand proudly before you supporting Governor Hochul's affordability initiatives. Thank you so much, Governor Hochul, and once again, another round of applause for the governor. Today, we stand at a pivotal moment in our journey toward a brighter, more equitable future for New Yorkers and Long Islanders. Governor Hochul's unwavering commitment to making life more affordable for working families across Long Island is not just a promise. It is a reality that is unfolding before our eyes. This year, over 8 million New Yorkers will benefit from a $2 billion inflation relief payment. And the governor spoke to it earlier, but I think it's important to note joint filers earning up to $150,000 will receive $400, while those earning $300,000 will receive $300,000. Single filers making up to $75,000 will receive $200, and those earning up to $150,000 will receive $150. These payments will be automatically mailed, ensuring equitable access and that no one is left behind. The expansion of the Empire State Child Tax Credit is another powerful step forward. With up to $1,000 per child for children under 4 and $500 per child for those aged 4 to 16, more families will benefit, especially with the removal of outdated income restrictions. This aligns with the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island's mission to support policies that lift children and families out of poverty and create pathways to stability. A permanent middle-class tax cut will provide $1 billion annually in relief, with nearly 80% of New Yorkers seeing lower tax rates starting in 2026. Most families will notice more take-home pay as early as January of 2026, putting more money directly into the hands of those who need it most. Governor Hochul, as she spoke to, is delivering on free school meals for over 2.7 million students in New York State. All students in participating schools will receive free breakfast and lunch, regardless of family income. The initiative will save families in grocery costs and ensure that no child goes hungry, a goal that resonates deeply with HWCLI's commitment to food security and child well-being. Collectively, these initiatives represent up to $5,000 in support for a family of 4. This is not just significant, Governor, this is transformative. When Governor Hochul says, "Your family is my fight," she is echoing the very values of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island as we champion every day for equity, dignity, and opportunity for all. The Health and Welfare Council of Long Island proudly supports these initiatives, recognizing the profound impact on health, economic stability, and the overall well-being of our communities. We believe that every family deserves the opportunity to thrive, and these measures are a crucial step toward achieving that vision. Let us embrace this moment with hope and determination. Together, we can build a future where every New Yorker and Long Islander has the chance to succeed, where our children are nourished and educated, and where our families are supported, empowered, and uplifted. Governor Hochul, I stand here proud as a resident of New York State, and thank you for your advocacy and your leadership, and we appreciate everything that you have done and will continue to do for this great state of New York. Thank you. And I have the distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce to you Joe Salamone, Executive Director of the Long Island Coalition Against Bullying.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good morning. I'm Joe Salamone, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Long Island Coalition Against Bullying. We are privileged to be the region's only nonprofit solely focused on combating bullying. And for the last 12 years, our mission has been quite simple: to create communities where students feel safe, seen, and supported. We've done that locally through programming at schools, direct family advocacy, and real, honest conversations with kids. We've also, on a more global level, helped advocate for local and statewide policy, including, as the governor mentioned, last year's passed and signed Safe for Kids Act. As a result of this budget, it's time to celebrate another landmark achievement for students, families, and educators across New York. Thanks to Governor Hochul's leadership, New York is now the largest state in the country to implement a K-12 bell-to-bell cell phone ban. And we could not be prouder to support it. Alarmingly, the data speaks volumes. 95% of teens today have a smartphone. They receive over 250 average notifications a day. Anxiety, distraction, and isolation are rampant. And now we're doing something about it because this historic move restores something that we have started to lose: real childhood, real social growth, real community. This isn't about punishing, it's about protecting. Smartphones are valuable tools, but without limits, they do cause real harm. We see it every day. Bullying no longer hides in stairwells. It happens in group chats, in videos recorded without consent, often memorializing what should have been a fleeting moment in time, and in digital spaces that follow students in every corner of their day. So I ask all of you, is this the environment our children should be living in? No. However, we are now restoring spaces for real connection within schools. In cafeterias, students can talk to one another again. Imagine that. In classrooms, teachers regaining attention, and everywhere, young people feeling a little freer. And it does work. In over 200 classroom visits that I made this year, this school year alone, speaking with administrators who have already implemented similar measures in their building, they have estimated a staggering 85% reduction in the amount of peer conflict and bullying-related issues occurring within their buildings. This is no longer theory. This is proven. To my fellow colleagues in education who have openly asked me, why not just leave it up to the school? My answer has very simply been, the time for patchwork solutions is over. The time for real action is now. Each school district can and should have the ability to adopt this measure in a way that best fits their unique communities. This just ensures that everyone must meet the same end result. Because of this effort, come September, students all across New York will walk into a school building no longer tethered to the pressures of their phones. They will be freer to learn, to connect, and to thrive. This is not just policy. It's progress. It's protection. And today, thanks to Governor Hochul, it's a reality. And that is something we should continue to celebrate. Thank you again to Governor Hochul for your bravery to champion this initiative, to our state legislature, and to all those who advocated alongside us for this historic achievement. Thank you.
If everyone could please stay seated as we take some photos. Thank you.